Good morning. It is 25 minutes past 6 and I have just arrived at Duke because I didn't have very much time today to ride, and if I want to fit Woody in as well, which of course I do, then there's not enough hours in the day, so I'm riding really early this morning. So today's vlog is going to be a sunrise ride with Duke and then after work with Woody. So it's going to get a little bit lighter as the morning goes on, so we're going to school today. I'm just going to go and get him ready and then we shall be off. Hi darling, pop your light on. There we go. Good morning, sleepyhead. Oh, you okay? Can we give you a brush? Yeah, that'd be nice. A little brush. Oh, hi sweetheart. Did you have a good night? Yeah, nice and toasty. Good boy. So here is my plan for today. This is the first time that I will have been schooling Duke since I had my lesson, which you can watch. It was last week's vlog. So my plan is basically to replicate that lesson completely and see how we get on, see if anything feels easier, see if anything feels harder, and just have a go. I find it much easier to have a plan for these lessons that almost someone else has set out rather than just going in blind, especially when it's so early, it's a bit cold. I've only got half an hour or 35 minutes to school. I feel like I need a plan to do it properly. So that's where I'm at. Let's groom Duke and then let's go ride. Okay, so I'm on board Duke, and the first thing that I'm thinking is that Duke has been stood in his stable all night. It's a little bit colder and he's quite a big horse. So I'm just going to spend the first 5 to 10 minutes walking around, long rein, not really asking for anything other than an active walk. I don't at this point need a contact. I mean, I don't need a frame. I'm not asking for flexion left or right. I just want him to walk. And actually he was feeling really good. Like you can see, he's got quite a big stride. He's really alert. When I first got on, he walked straight off. So I think he was just feeling really good this morning. So I felt really good about this, and I was also trying to check in with myself. How does my position feel? Do I feel tight on one way or the other? Spoiler, I feel tight through my right hip and I'm blocking through my left arm. I don't know if that has anything to do with the fact that it's broken or if it's just the symmetry situation that I was trying to deal with last year coming back, but that's how I'm feeling. So let me speed this along and let's get to the next section. So by this point in the schooling session, it's been 5 to 10 minutes, we've had a little warm up and I'm starting to ask for a little bit more of a frame. I've shortened my reins, I'm trying to get him to come through from behind, and I'm also starting to do a little bit of gentle bending. This is just a serpentining walk. You might remember that this is how we pretty much started our work with Sarah in the lesson I had last week. So what I'm trying to do is work out which rein he is feeling more stiff on, and I think you can probably tell he's definitely finding it more difficult to flex towards the right. He comes up above the bridle, he fights a little bit. So that is something that I'm trying to notice and think, okay, what do I need to do to help him with that bend? And then as I'm coming across the middle of the school, I'm also trying to get him straight for a couple of strides before then bending him the other way. The other thing that I'm thinking about is my own position. And I'm saying all of this, by the way, not as an instructor, but very much as someone who's learning and sort of regurgitating everything my instructor said to me. So as I come around the corner, I'm trying really hard to open up my body, turn the whole of my upper body and not just my lower body or not just my hand. There we go, looking where I'm going. And I do have a tendency to kind of fix through my left side, so I don't bend quite as well through my left side. So trying to think about that, trying to think about staying central, making sure that I don't lose his outside shoulder when I'm bending to the inside. All the things. Shall we move on? So a couple more bends and then I picked up my first trot. You can see he really jumped into trot there and he's feeling good. I am trying to focus first and foremost on rhythm and straightness as opposed to just trying to get him in the frame straight away. So I'm really focusing on myself. You can see he's a little bit forward, backward, in front, behind, and because he's such a big horse, I find that he can really easily throw me off balance. So all I'm trying to do here is just make sure that he's actually carrying me forward as opposed to trying to get him in a frame first. And I'm also trying really hard to keep my leg back, which you can probably see, and I'm trying to think about what Sarah said, which is like having my shoulders slightly forward and almost coming up from my knees in a sort of squat position. It's a little bit, I don't know, this first trot was a little bit janky, I'd say. Like, he kept falling back and then jogging forward and almost going into canter, like you can see here. So it took us a little while to get into our groove. But in other news, the sunrise is beginning to look wonderful. So let's fast forward. So after a little bit more trot and then a walk break, we picked back up into trot, and now we're doing a 20-metre circle. And the idea of this is that we spiral in and out using my leg. I hate this exercise. Sarah made me do it in the lesson and I was like, I've got to keep trying, but I find it really difficult. I am not as strong on one side as the other, and Duke is such a big horse, it's so hard to push him in and out, and he also is not super supple, so we both find this exercise very difficult, which, as you can see, we needed a break. But I stuck with it, I gave it a go, and that's all that matters. Let's move on. So after a short walk break, I picked up trot again, and this time I was trying to think about rhythm, suppleness, but then also a little bit of a frame and not getting left behind, so coming up from my knees. I noticed that the first couple of times that I rode him, my reins were quite long, so I was thinking quite a lot about that today and what could I do to have a better, more consistent contact. So I did that, and then I was thinking about a few figure of eights, which I also did with Sarah. As you can see, that transition where I change my diagonal for us both is quite disruptive. I don't know why I find it difficult to change quietly on him, but that is something that I'm also working on. So doing these big figure of eight loops and trying to just change my diagonal quietly without getting left behind the movement is something that I'm also working on. That one was better. We did a bit more spiralling, which I won't bore you with, but that trot, look at that lovely trot at the end. And then I decided that that was probably enough. By this point, we'd done about 25 minutes. So nice long rein, relax for both of us, a little bit of a break. And I actually pick him up in a minute just to do a little bit of stretchy trot to finish so that he's working over his back and we get to stretch it. And I just love a stretchy trot. I really enjoy it, and I would like to be better at it, so I like to practice it. So I'll show you that, and then I'll just show you us warming off. My pivot just lost me for a second there, but I was trying and slightly failing, to be honest, to have Duke down on a slightly longer rein so that he's stretching down a little bit. I mean, it looks alright, but it looks a bit messy. It could be better. Something to work on next time. And then that really was it. We both then went on a long rein, and I walked him around for about 5 minutes, and then that was it. That was us. Boy. You're a good lad, aren't you, Duke? You're a good boy. Fabulous. Just fabulous. Ah, that was just so good. He's such a good boy. Just makes you realise why you love schooling so much. And I just felt like, whoops. Back, Duke. There's a good boy. We were just trying to replicate the ride with Sarah, and everything was just going so well. Like, obviously it's not perfect, but I just feel like I'm really starting to get to know him now, and it's just lovely. It's so nice. He's such a lovely horse. Aren't you? You're such a lovely boy. He's like, you talking about me? Yes. So yeah, I'm very pleased. Gonna untack him and then shoot off to work. Duke is all done. We're making excellent time. It's only 7:35. So I'm gonna head to work now, get changed, and then start my day. I made it to work. This is Surrey office, so it's a little bit closer than going all the way home and then going into central London. But actually it took me a little bit longer to get here than I thought. The traffic was a bit worse and I had to stop and get petrol. Always the way, isn't it? I'm gonna get changed and then I shall come back for when I do my makeup. Right, I'm changed. It's about 20 to 9. My first meeting is at 9:15, but I'd quite like to get a coffee. So while I'm putting makeup on, let's talk. So I actually had this conversation on Instagram not long ago where people were asking about my morning routine. And I said that I would talk about it, but I also wanted to acknowledge that there's quite a lot of privilege that comes with it. So for one, I have a job which is relatively flexible. I have some flexibility in my hours and I'm able to work from home some days, and you know, I work. So my job title is Senior Creative Director and I sort of lead on the social strategy for Google at a agency. And so, you know, it's not A&E and it's not, you know, being a doctor, and so there is some, you know, there's a privilege that comes with that. Second thing is I don't have children yet, and so I don't have to worry about coming home and looking after children, and I think it's important to acknowledge these things because they make life easier. And I guess the other thing is that my career means I can afford full livery. And that is also not something that I think if I were trying to do this and have DIY, I'd really struggle. And so I think, you know, some people are like, how do you do it all? But I'm like, yeah, but there's a lot of privilege that comes with the reasons I'm able to do so much. Does that make sense? I just wanted to acknowledge it basically. But yeah, so I tend to actually get in the office really, really early normally. I'm only riding in the morning today because I have a client call in the evening, and if I were to then go and ride Duke and then go and see Woody, I wouldn't get home until like 9 p.m. because they're not very close to each other. So I thought I would go and ride him in the morning. Okay, it is about 5:30. I'm changed. Let's go and see the Woodster. Ooh, we're here. Hi, Woods. Hello. You had a nice day? Oh, it's very unusual. Ah, there he is. Hi, darling. What you been up to? He's been in the water again. He's cut his nose, but that's okay, isn't it? You want to come out for a bit of grass? That'd be nice. Yeah. Right. I didn't bring my GoPro over because it's a bit heavy, but we just did our walk around the yard, 5 to 10 minutes. And now we'll hand graze for half an hour. And then that will be the evening. He looks really clean. I'm going to check, might give him a quick brush and obviously check his feet, and then that'll be it for the night. He's so good. Honestly, you would never believe he's been on the amount of box rest he has. He's just so happy to be on the grass. He's so well behaved, aren't you? Right, we are all done with the hand grazing. I took his rug off because it started raining and I didn't want his rug to be wet. So I'm just going to pop his rug back on, check his feet. And he's done for the day. Oh, yeah. Such a good boy, the most handsome face, aren't you? You're such a good boy. Oh, don't bite me. Don't bite me. Bless him. Well, that is it. This isn't a very good ending, is it? You can't even see me. Let's put some light on for a moment. There we are. That's it. That is a day with me. Both boys happy. Good day. I am so hungry. I didn't eat lunch today. I didn't have time to go out and whatever, so I'm hungry. I'm going home to eat dinner. Really happy with both boys. nothing beats sitting on Woody. I think if I ever get to sit on him again, it's going to be like putting my feet in comfy slippers. But I am just so happy that he is able to cope with what we're asking of him. And now my focus is just, cannot wait to get him out in a field again. Like, I think that is the number one thing. Anyway, thank you so much for watching this week's video, and I hope to see you next week. Oh, coming up, I should say, you may remember over lockdown I interviewed a few people, and one of the people I interviewed was Kanan Francis, who is a jockey. He was training to be a jockey at the time. I'm going back to interview him in a couple of weekends' time in Newmarket at his yard. He's about to go for his race licence, so hopefully it'll be a really interesting insight into his life as a jockey and what's changed. I'm really looking forward to it. We did it over Zoom before, so I'm looking forward to doing it in person. And then also I'm going to be at Your Horse Live with Your Horse, obviously, as one of their ambassadors this year on the Saturday, and I'm really excited. So hopefully see some of you there as well, maybe some of you who are in the UK. That is it. I'll see you next week. Bye for now.